owe your heads up to this longer podcast. Introducing Jean. Well, who's Jean? Well, you're going to find out. And you're also going to learn how to change from anxiety to peace. Now, that's something that we can all do for learning. So please put your hands together shortly, soon, and welcome Jean.
Warning.
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 Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Welcome, my friend, back to another longer episode of the PDU, Personal Development Unplugged, with me and somebody else. You see, you know me. I listen, I read, I watch and look for everything that can help me and then hopefully help you in our strive to be better, our strive to develop ourselves, our personal development, and to become unplugged, but to sing from our own voice, to improve every day and find ways to do that. And I look for, I like to challenge my beliefs, but also I like to find, when I hear things that confirm that we're doing the right thing, it does hearten me. My heart goes boom, boom. Now, it's good to take another person's point of view. And with that, I am so indebted to a lovely lady, Jean Walters. She's so kind. She has kindly offered us to give her views of moving from anxiety to peace. And in this present environment, what could be better? Everything around us is, or could be, creating more anxiety. And if we can find any ways that can help us move from those feelings of being anxious to feelings of peace, my goodness, we'd all jump at them, wouldn't we? Now, Jean and I come from completely different backgrounds. Certainly, when you hear her talk, you'll notice she's coming from a different place. And I think this is awesome because the one thing though, and it won't be the one thing, but one of the great things that we have in common, our intentions are the same. You're going to have to listen to find out. You see, because I'm always looking for and finding alternative views to ways to change, to dealing with negative emotions. We know we find some which are complete bull. Some are just overcomplicated. Hence our deconstructing of the complicated to simple. And this is what I love about Jean's presentation. It is just simple. It is not overcomplicated. Yes, it comes from a different direction from me, but that's good. Because see, we all have biases, and I'm not talking about the negative biases we've been talking about in the past, but we all have our own personal beliefs, which in turn are our bias, I guess. And for me, when I come to the subject of personal development and change work, my bias is via my training, the hypnosis, NLP, timeline therapy. And I think it's by listening to others that we grow. We have to challenge our beliefs. We have to challenge our understandings. And in that way, we're either going to reinforce our beliefs because we think we're on the right path, or we find something that gives us something to muse, to think about, and maybe change our beliefs, because beliefs can change in a second. And if you have negative beliefs, you can change instantly. We know that, don't we? And what I want you to do is really look to see if you can find the similarities. Look to find the differences, because we're going to be coming from a different perspective, Jean's perspective. But looking at this, moving from anxiety to peace. And I think you're going to find this really interesting. Interesting because you're here. Interesting to again, listen for and challenge your own bias. Yes, we all know that we want to go from anxiety to peace. But I want you to see if you can notice from that intention those similarities. Can you spot the similarities of the topics that we've been talking around? I'm going to remind you at the end, or just the ones that I noticed. But by listening, understanding, and maybe just reinforcing that somebody else thinks, yes, you can change from anxiety to peace, and you can do it easily. You can do it comfortably. And there's so many ways to do it. Yet Jean's ways are so similar to ours. Sometimes it's just, when we've said it before, that the packaging is slightly different, but the present inside is still there. So anyway, I'm going to hand it over to Jean Walters, and she'll explain everything. So thank you so much. Here you are. This is Jean.
Hi, this is Jean Walters. I'm a transformational coach and best-selling author, and my mission is to bring people to the light. And that means to live in a higher dimension, a higher, lighter sense of self, and a place in your experience where everything is possible. Right now, I'm addressing the whole idea of bringing yourself from anxiety to peace. It's a big subject these days because we, as a culture, tend to be living in a lot of stress and anxiety. Part of that is because we're in such a major change right now. You may have heard the term the age of Aquarius, but that's really what's happening. We're shifting from an old model of patriarchal society to a new model of more of a feminine matriarchal society, meaning it's not about male and female, it's really about energy. It's about the energy to be a more giving, kind, receptive, and compassionate world. And so that's what we're in the middle about. We're making a lot of changes right now, individually, culturally, all the way through, the whole world. So anyway, in order to really use this time well, we really have to address the whole issue of anxiety, because we have been inundated with all kinds of negative news, everything from political stuff to environmental stuff to coronavirus and so forth and so on. And because of that, it's really inundated everybody to where it's really hard to keep your balance and stay steady. So I wrote this book, The Journey from Anxiety to Peace, How to Overcome Stress, Worry, and Struggle. And the whole point of it is that we have the option. We have the option to look at the things that are going on in our life and decide how we want to view them. If you remember that Mahatma Gandhi stated that you cannot make change from the same mind that created the problem. You cannot solve a problem from the same mind that created the problem. So that's what we're talking about here, is that if we want to make change in our life, if we want to take hold, if we want to recognize that we have some power in what's going on, then we have to adjust our mindset. Now, vibrationally, anxiety is a very low vibrational energy, but we have the choice to bring that energy up into a high vibration. And you can prove this yourself very simply by just asking yourself this question: how do I feel when I'm in fear and anxiety, hopelessness and despair? How do I feel when I'm in those states? And what you'll notice as you feel scared, you feel anxious, your body tightens up and your mind freezes. So in order to undo that, we have to actually change our mindset and move into a state of expansion, joy, compassion, and forgiveness. all that means that when we lift our mind to a higher energy of gratitude, for instance, our mind begins to expand. So there's only two states that we live in. One is fear and one is love. Fear is resentment, anger, shame, guilt, unforgiveness, anger. And love is kindness, compassion, gratitude, joy, and expansion. So these are the two states. And at any time we can find ourselves in a state of anxiety, we can shift and decide to go into gratitude. It is my belief that everyone has so much to be grateful for. We have, especially in the United States, we have so many freedoms. Most people have food to eat every single day. And I know there are some people that are doing without somewhat, but we basically have agencies and social systems where people could eat and people have some kind of housing. And we have options to educate. And there's always a way that can get done. And we have options then to expand our career or change careers and things like that. So we have lots of options. We have beautiful weather, and we have the option to breathe free air. We have the option to speak freely and so forth. So we have many options in this country that a lot of other countries do not have. We have families and we have homes, and those are things that we are grateful for. And the other thing is that we have the freedom of religion. We have the freedom to actually look at life spiritually in any way we want to. So that's a big choice, because if we move our attention to a higher place, to a state of gratitude, for instance, we've completely changed our energy pattern. Also, the other thing that's really important to note is that when we're in a state of gratitude or joy or compassion or freedom, we are much more magnetic. We become magnetic to attract the kind of life we really want. That's really important because many people don't have that, and we do. So that's something else to be very grateful about. So the other thing is, when we're looking at anxiety, much of the time we go back to our past. In my particular past, I had a mom that was full of anxiety, that she could actually worry about anything. And I always thought of her as a champion warrior. Probably if there was a blue ribbon for worrying, she would have gotten it. Because she, as I would tell her, you could make a hangnail into cancer. I mean, she had a great imagination, and she could create worry out of anything. So maybe you had a mother like that, or somebody in your life that, continually presented the worst case scenario. And when that happens, we can get sort of lulled into that. Sort of mesmerized into that. Right now, when we listen to the news, it's the same thing. We get mesmerized or hypnotized into believing the worst about everything. The news is about drama, and some people crave drama, and they'll go to the news. That's a great source for that. But it also lowers your energy, and it also makes you very vulnerable to negative forces. For instance, there's a program right now going on, a mental program about COVID-19. There's another mental program about gas prices, and then there's another mental program about just about anything you could think of. So illness and so forth, and lack and limitation, and whatever you can imagine. There's a program out there. All you have to do is watch TV. There's almost all programs have some sort of violence in them anymore. And so that's, again, another way to mesmerize your mind into thinking that's the way the world is. So what we want to do is be very careful about what we expose ourselves to, because we are wide open, and whatever we expose ourselves to, we will follow that edict. It will take us down or it will bring us up. And that's a choice we make. So there's things that we can watch. I know one woman told me that she only watches Hallmark Channel anymore. There's a reason for that. Even though the stories are fairly predictable, they are still more kind and loving than you can find in most other places. So we have to make choices. If we want to move from anxiety to peace, we have to make choices. One of the things that would be helpful is to recognize the stories you tell yourself. And many of the stories you tell yourself are based upon stories that have been told to you. So an example of that would be, it's really hard to make your way in life. You have to work hard for everything. Nothing comes easy. That's a story. Another one might be, everybody in our family has trouble with this, diabetes or allergies or you name it. And so people buy into that story. And the second they buy into it, their mind is programmed to perhaps change the way their food is processed, to change the way our organs function, to adjust the chemical output in our body so that we can live that story. So stories are dynamic. And so we want to make sure that we check the story we're telling ourselves. What I saw with my mother is that she had a story she told herself, and that she was constantly reiterating on that same story. So she kept herself in a state of frenzy and anxiety and pretty much misery. And that's what she was actually offering to the family, that same dynamic, because that's the one she talked about, that's the one she lived. And when you were around her, that's what you were exposed to. So it was very difficult, but at the same time, I had a really strong drive to change the story for myself because I wasn't interested in living at that low energy level, low vibration and fear state that she was in. And many people right now have to make the same choice because we have the option to change our story. When you hear yourself talking, when you start agreeing with someone about how bad things are, note that that is your story. And what you want to do is grab onto it and recognize that it's just a bunch of information that you fed into your mind and you bought it. So at any moment, you could change the story. For instance, there are so many good things that are happening in the world. There are so many people who are stepping up and creating charities, offering services, reducing their prices, helping people out who don't have as much. There's so much going on like that right now, but we don't hear about that on the news. So if we want to look at people who are expanding and people who are in a better, higher state, then we want to use those as our models. And it's not that we have to be just like them, but they're teaching us something that we can gravitate toward and make a difference in our life. What about the story that whatever I start out to do, I will find a way to do it? What about the story of there are resources everywhere, I will find the ones that can help me? What about the story that if I choose a path, I will be successful in that path? If whatever it is that I go for and ask for and look for, I will find. Whatever the issue seems to be, there is also a solution for that issue. These are new stories that you can take on at any time, and the shifting into that new model will help you set your mind to where you can accomplish that very thing. It's exactly the same as saying, oh, everybody has a cold, so I guess I'll get a cold too. And that oftentimes people do that. If everybody else is doing that, I should do it. That's not a good reason to do anything. So we want to look at the story. It's so important to recognize what the story is that we've been telling ourselves and to make the changes that are necessary. Because the truth is, we were never designed to be a victim. And many people are living victim lives, feeling helpless, feeling like a virus is bigger than them or a problem is bigger than them. But the thing about it is that if you decide that you want to address life differently, the first thing you want to do is to expand your consciousness. it might be easier than you think to do this. One of the things that work is to go into nature. In St. Louis right now, it's pretty cold, but still you can go into nature and enjoy the sunlight. Just bundle up. And when you go into a natural setting, you will notice there's a rhythm there that's very different from the rhythm of the news, or rhythm from the TV show, or rhythm from often the talk of other people. So there's a slower, gentler rhythm, and it never changes, meaning that nature has its own rhythm, and that as we move into it, we can, align with it. We can absorb it. We can immerse ourselves in it. And when we do that, we shift our attention and we shift our mindset. Another way that works immediately is if you go into gratitude and just every day make a gratitude list, and make sure you put new things on that list each day. It could be, I am so grateful for the sunshine today. I am so grateful that someone came and helped me with my computer today. I am so grateful that I was reminded of an appointment that I had forgotten. I was grateful that I have food to eat. And I am grateful that I can make choices all day long and follow my own path in that. These are simple gratitudes. You don't have to be a millionaire. You don't have to have a castle. You can just be yourself. And by just assuming your own self, knowing that you are a divine being, there's so much expansion in that knowing. And following that is the whole idea of giving yourself time to introspect, to meditate, to move into the stillness that is inside of you. You won't find the stillness in the outer world because the outer world is full of drama. But you can find the stillness inside. There is a quiet place within you. One of the simplest ways to do that is to just observe your breathing. Observe your breathing going in and going out. Begin to notice the rhythm of your breathing. You can even close your eyes and just feel this rhythm of your breath. And as you do that, your breath will slow down and you will feel yourself in a quieter place. When you do that and you do it for a while, your body gets a break. All of the stress hormones that are created from drama and old stories and negative interactions, those change. And you begin to recognize a different part of you that is calm, that is peaceful, that is joyful, that can detach from the outer world. We need to learn how to detach from the outer world. We need to detach from all the drama and the external things so that we can have an internal life. Our internal life is health. It's prosperity. It's joy. It's love. And so when we shift our attention, and that's what I mean, to shift your attention into your inner self, you begin to realize that most of the stuff that you fret about or worry about doesn't mean a lot. Most of the stuff people worry about does not happen and never will. That's been proven, by the way. It's like 99% of the things you worry about don't happen. But what you do by worrying is keeping yourself in a state of stress. The brain has a survival instinct. And so when we look at a situation like we have to pay a bill, the brain might go into survival mode because that's how we started out in this physical life, by surviving. And so the default button oftentimes is going into survival. How am I going to pay the bill? When am I going to be able to pay it? What if I can't pay it? Et cetera, et cetera. And that's their survival instinct. When you change it and realize that the bill is there is a way to pay the bill. Maybe I'm going to make it in payments. Maybe it's going to take me longer. Maybe I need to call that vendor and say, hey, I need some help with this. But there's a way to do that. And when you adopt that mode of thinking and being, then you are now accessing your higher intelligence, because you're saying the story is I can pay that bill. One way or another, I'll figure out a way and I'll pay the bill. So from, oh my gosh, I can't pay it, to there's a way, is a completely different energy pattern. We're moving out of the survival mind and into a new enlightened mindset of expansion and joy and possibility. So moving into a new rhythm, a kinder rhythm, a softer rhythm, where your body actually can begin to function well and your mind can function well, because it can come up with possibilities and resources. That is a huge change and moves you from anxiety to peace. You're able to see whatever you consider to be a problem, and you can see it from many different dimensions and begin to understand which way I need to approach it. That's working from a mind that didn't create the problem. You're working from a mind that can find the solution. So that's important. And the other thing is the whole idea of being bigger than the issue, being bigger than the problem. So let's say you're having some relationship problems or issues. You can be dug into that and go, oh my gosh, this person did me wrong and I'm really mad about that, and so forth and so on. And you can do that. And it'll keep you in a quandary. It'll keep you all mixed up and confused. Or you can go, there's an issue going on here. I'm going to look at it from my point of view. I'm going to look at their point of view. I'm going to see it from a higher dimension. I'm going to recognize where the dominance in that issue is. I'm going to recognize where the weakness is in that issue. And I'm going to look at the whole picture. And then when we do that, when we can detach and see it from different angles, we begin to recognize there's much more than one way to look at an issue or a relationship problem. There's much more than one way to do it, or a job situation. And then it gives us a better opportunity to choose. What's the best approach here? What does this really mean for me? And how do I want to address it? So those are great options, but we can't do that when we're reacting to the issue. We want to be bigger than the issue. We want to look down on it and say, what is really going on here? And that's a great question. What is really going on here? So anyway, here's some opportunities. Another opportunity is look at your judgments. What are your judgments? Who are you judging and what are you judging? Do you want to continue judging? Because judging, most of the time, judgment is negative. Oh, I didn't like the way they looked at me, or they're wearing the wrong color, or whatever it is. And it's crazy. But if we decide, I don't have to judge anything, really. I can just let everybody be who they need to be, and I can just go on my way, and I'm going to give up judgment. That doesn't mean you don't decide which class you want to take, or which direction you want to go in life. Of course, those are judgments in effect, but they're really choices. And anytime we pose a negative judgment, we really don't know the facts. And so it's better if we just decide, I have a preference for this or a preference for that, and I don't have to judge anything else. You don't judge other people. You don't know what they've been through. You don't know what they're about. No judgments. Judgments keep you small. So again, that's lifting your energy to a higher dimension and bringing yourself into a state of peace. So there's a lot of good opportunities in this thought pattern that I'm just suggesting for you. And a lot of it comes in my book, The Journey from Anxiety to Peace, Practical Steps to Handle Fear, Embrace Struggle, and eliminate worry to become happy and free. I'm going to say that again. Practical steps to handle fear, embrace struggle, and eliminate worry to become happy and free. Does everybody want that? I think so. So anyway, if you would like to get the first 3 chapters of that book, all you have to do is email me at Jean, Jean, at spiritualtransformation.com. That's Jean, Jean, at spiritualtransformation.com. And just mention that you heard the podcast and you would like to have 3 chapters of the book. I think if you're ready, it can change your life. And I would love to help you with that. In the meantime, this is Jean Walters, and I'm encouraging you to live your best life, to live in the light. Come along and live in the light, and you will find it to be very gratifying. Thank you so much.
Now, that was blooming awesome. I hope you agree that although there are some little differences, when you come from that same intention, we find similarities. Things like understanding the negative noise, knowing there's some good news, knowing how to sieve, as it were, the negative noise into the noise that makes sense. Knowing that we have things like responsibility for making our choices from our personal stories. And our personal stories are, I guess, the foundation or what creates our beliefs. But knowing that we're able to change that if it's not working at any moment in time. And when we do that, we can create empowering beliefs, can't we? Our own empowering beliefs. And I love it. I love what Jean was talking about in a way that, coming back to gratitude, because we've talked before, when you are in an anxious state, if you can just come back by stopping and pausing, because that was one of the things, if you notice a similarity, stopping, pausing, walking in nature. But going back to gratitude, it will change your state, change the way you feel. And when you change the way you feel, you will change that internal representation, those pictures you make in your mind, and you'll see the world differently. You begin to create your own reality. We just have sometimes, I think, just a different terminology. Can you spot those similarities? There was perceptual positions in that lovely talk that Jean had. They were asking great questions, taking responsibility, stopping, pausing, changing our state, having choice. All core topics of Personal Development Unplugged. So I am so grateful to Jean. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing with us your thoughts, giving us, if we needed more confidence that it's okay when we're anxious to stop and know there's a better way, to ask those right questions, to change our state and move towards peace. And also for offering that free excerpt of Jean's book. That's awesome. So please do go to Jean's website. I'll put some details of that again in the notes for this episode, the show notes as people call them. show notes. They're the show notes. And please do contact Jean to tell her how much you enjoyed it, what you learned. And I'd love to know what you learned too, what your takeaway from this episode was, where we could take it further. If you enjoy having like a guest, I know this is a solo cast. I think they call it one of those. I don't do interviews, but I do love when people approach me and say, can I share something that is aligned? And I just want to give your listeners, Paul, something to help them make the change from anxiety to peace, as you were here, but being able to change your state, being able to find wonderful states to enable you to live a life of, well, the life that you desire. So that was awesome. Absolutely blooming awesome. Thank you so much. We're going to see if we can find other people. If they come to us, then we'll get them to do something for us too. But for now, Jean Walters. She is awesome. I do hope you enjoyed that. It's a slight deviation from our norm, but isn't that good? Isn't it good that we can do different things? And I think it just gets us to learn, doesn't it? Learn something different. Even, reinforces the good things that we do, makes us think of different things. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed it immensely. As I said, I'd love your feedback. Just email me at feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. I'd love to say your feedback. I'd like to know if you'd like something similar, or if there are other areas that you've heard about and you'd like some type of comparison, topics, issues that you have, advice that you want. Then we can carry on this deconstructing the complicated, because sometimes, we talked about before, the confusion of things seem so complicated, but when we break them down, we can handle them. And then we get clarity. And when we get clarity, we can know what the right state to have, and then start taking responsibility, making those choices, creating those wonderful, positive, empowering beliefs, and making a difference to our lives. And when we make a difference to our lives, as we know, we'll never know how far the ripples of change go, because those ripples will affect the people we love and who are around us, and then it'll affect the people who love them and around them, and everybody just gets to get into this change. It'll be awesome. It'll be awesome. Anyway, do hang around. Do hang around just for a little bit longer. I know your time's valuable, but we'll have a little bit about maybe an older episode, something you may have missed, and then just a few notes that I'd love you to pay it forward. I'll see you next time, but just do hang on just for a few minutes. I know your time's valuable and I appreciate it. I really do. But if you could, that would be awesome too. I'll see you soon. So just before you go, and before the final bits, an old episode way back from July 2019. And it's called A Personal Story. Where do our beliefs come from? And, I'll tell you all about it in this intro. But it's #138, so if you feel that it might be something that you'll enjoy, do search it out on your app of choice. So it's #138, A Personal Story. Where do our beliefs come from? I hope you enjoy it. Hey, here's your heads up to this longer podcast. It's me sharing some work I did on myself just a day or so ago about negative beliefs and a negative feeling I had, and what happened when these negative beliefs came up, what I did to let them go, and we discover and dive deeply into the limiting negative beliefs and how they affect our lives, how they're created, and how we can just let them go, and how then our world, our life will be so much different when we do. Well, I hope you enjoyed that podcast, because this is me, Paul Clough from Personal Development Unplugged, where I'm just trying to deconstruct, as they call it, deconstruct the complicated, so we can make life easy and richer. So our return on the effort and investment that we put in is magnificent. And you can have fun doing it. That's the main thing. Have fun and getting better each time. So if you enjoyed this episode or any other episode, very first thing I'd love you to do would be to pay it forward and share it with anybody and everyone you know. Wouldn't it be fun if you just sent it to everyone you knew? That would be fun, because that's the way of this integrated field of learning where we just share everything we know. Someone will get the golden nuggets. They will, and their life will change, and you'll be the cause of their life changing. That'll be awesome. Secondly, if you could just subscribe, because subscribe buttons do help. They help you to get the episodes on your platform of choice when they come out. No problems. You don't have to think about it. Off they come, ping, you get it. That would be awesome, because that helps with just the rankings in all those platforms. But if you ever get a chance, maybe just a little review. Hopefully it would be a 5-star review if you're putting a review up. But a nice review would be good. Again, that helps the ratings, which means if people get to see it because it's been rated better, it means they've got a chance to take the little golden nuggets that you would have shown and shared, and they get to get better too. And in all of that, we're doing two wonderful things. One is we're doing things that are good for you, they're good for others, and good for little old planet Earth. And secondly, we're leaving everybody and everything in a better place than when we first met them. And that includes little old planet Earth. Okay? Anyway, until next time, Enjoy every heartbeat. Bye-bye.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.